exciting feeling coming into this room. And with that, I want to turn it over to our great MC, Leslie Butani.
Welcome to the first ever Civic Power Awards. My name is Leslie Butani. I'm a social justice activist and a Civic Influencers board member. I'm also an active investor in companies that will change the world, and I believe Civic Influencers will do just that. We are working to secure democracy for future generations by supporting young people's civic education and engaging them in the voting process. Thank you, Mo and Salesforce, for hosting us tonight. Thank you also to our board, our Blue Ribbon Committee, host committee, and staff. You can see their names on the screen behind me. Tonight, we're gathered here to honor youth voting champions and supporters, and to celebrate Civic Influencers' pursuit of civic and voting power. We are in that pursuit for all youth, immigrant, Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, disabled, and other youth of color. And tonight we are ramping up to the midterms with our Power Awards. We are presenting 5 awards tonight. Recipients are Civic Influencer Anya Taylor, Maxwell Alejandro Frost, Chantilly Juggernaut, the team at Atrium, and our board chair, Liz Ritchie. Please take time tonight to meet and chat with our awardees and staff while you're here. And it's my honor right now to introduce my good friend, the distinguished senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy.
Well, thank you very much, Leslie. Thank you for all that you do, all the board members and staff at Civic Influencers. I'm really excited to be able to bring you some greetings from Washington, D.C. this evening. I am what passes for young in the United States.
Senator Murphy.
Yes.
One moment. We're not seeing you. Rachel.
Yes, Maxim.
Can you get Senator Murphy on the screen?
I believe you have to do it from your end. He is spotlighted front and center for us on Zoom.
Thank you, Senator.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, and you look fantastic.
All right, great. Well, listen, thank you so much for letting me bring you just a few greetings. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person. We are in Washington right now. As I was mentioning, I am what passes for young in the United States Senate, which is just a statement on the relative ages of my colleagues. But I'm just so excited the work that you are doing to engage young people in a peer-to-peer basis on the importance of turnout. The fact of the matter is, when young people don't turn out, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ultimately, Congress doesn't express the will, the desires of young people across this country because they predict that young people will turn out at a rate that is much different than that of older voters. In 2018, that wasn't the case. In 2018, young voters came out all over the country at a rate twice that of the prior midterm. And if young people turn out in 2022, like they did in 2018, it will change the face of Congress. It will elect to Congress more members of the House and Senate who care about tackling the epidemic of gun violence. It will elect more members of the House and the Senate who will care about doing our part to solve the existential challenge of climate change. It will elect more members of Congress who will step up and make school more accessible and more affordable. And so I'm just so encouraged by the work that you have done and will do. And I hope that some of our progress over the summer shows that politics is worth it. I get it. A lot of young people say, what difference can I make? Well, if it wasn't for young people turning out in record numbers in 2018 and coming back out again in 2020, we wouldn't have been able to pass the most significant anti-gun violence bill in 30 years as we did this summer. We would not have been able to pass the first ever significant investment in clean energy and climate policy as we did this summer. Admittedly, we have so much more to do, but it is absolutely critical to make sure that we continue to invest in the work of groups like yours that are working to turn out our colleagues. And I apologize, that was my colleague Sherry Brown just opening up the door to say hello. But we have a lot of fans here in the United States Senate of the work that you're doing, and I'm greatly appreciative of the chance to stop by and say hello this evening.
Was receiving tonight's Power Award, Anya Taylor.
Hi, Senator Murphy. So nice to virtually meet you. Again, I am Anya Taylor, and I am receiving the Civic Influencer of the Year Power Award tonight for my work at North Carolina A&T, the largest HBCU in the country. And my question for you tonight is, do you think that what Civic Influencers does, which is relational peer-to-peer organizing on tipping point campuses like what I did at North Carolina A&T, is necessary to save our democracy?
So you are at a tipping point campus. The fact of the matter is there are a handful of states all across this country that are going to decide whether or not democracy is around for another 250 years. There is a movement all across this country to give up on democracy. It manifested itself through an attack on the Capitol on January 6th. And now with efforts underway all over the nation to try to overturn the results of the 2024 election if they don't turn out the way that a certain candidate wants. So your work is ultimately about the protection of our democracy, and your strategy to engage in peer-to-peer communication in targeted areas is going to be difference making. Listen, I can try to turn out young people, but I'm no longer young. Young people don't listen to United States senators. They listen to their peers. They listen to friends. They listen to colleagues and students that they go to school with. So I know that your work will make a difference. I know that our democracy is hanging on by a thread. And I know that nobody should be more invested in the work of breathing new life in our democracy than young people. So I'm grateful for the work that you've done at North Carolina A&T. I hope it serves as a model all over the rest of the country. And I will just tell you, we are counting on you. We really are. Our ability to expand voting rights, our ability to make sure that only the winners of election get seated in power is dependent first and foremost on whether young people decide to make their voice heard in this midterm election. If we get the same kind of turnout that we did in 2018, then we can protect democracy. We can make more progress on climate change, on gun violence. But if young people decide to stay home because they're frustrated or they're anxious, listen, I think that the whole enterprise that we've been engaged in is at risk. So again, very grateful for your work. And I'm just telling you on behalf of my colleagues here in Washington that care about the survival of democracy, we're counting on you.
Thank you, Senator Murphy. Thank you, Anya. Please give our regards to Senator Brown, Sherrod Brown, who is, of course, we are in Ohio as we are in Connecticut. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I am just thrilled about all of you being here. And I'm so grateful to Senator Murphy. I'm grateful to our board, our MC, Leslie Vitani, our chair, Liz Ritchie, and everyone else who is joining us remotely. I'm Maxim Thorne, I'm the CEO. And what we have done is the most disruptive thing that is helping young people to be able to register and to vote. We have spent a year doing an innovative data analysis of where can young people be most effective and where can young people be most effective and what can they do in those places that will actually work to energize young people and give them the tools to vote. We call this mobilizing the margins. And that is the intersection where there are tight margins in elections. And keep this in mind. In 2020, there was a district that flipped by 6 votes. 6 votes, just think about that. That's the dining hall table. That's the glee club. That's the football team. Any one of those turning up could change the direction of that district. So we talk about mobilizing young people showing them that they have power and how to acquire power, voting power, particularly when the margins are tight. So we've identified here, and I invite everyone to go to civicinfluencers.org, and you will see districts like I've described. We call those tipping point districts. And later you'll hear about our tipping point campuses on those districts. And you'll see on this map very, very tight margins. So when you hear that my vote doesn't count, and you think of a 6-vote margin, again, to use 3 others, that's the marching band, that's the gospel choir, that's the sorority. Any of your group of friends of 6 can change the direction of our country. Here is what's happened over the last, say, 20 years in our country. The margins of these races have gotten narrower and narrower, which means that young people's voting power and ability to swing elections have gotten greater and greater. What we've also seen is young people are passionate about a lot of issues. We have surveyed over 4,000 young people. That's a huge sample size for data scientists out there. And what we found is less than 1% of the young people we surveyed said they weren't passionate about anything. That means about 99% of young people were passionate about some things, and some of them were passionate about a number of things, like climate change, like gun violence, like student debt, like abortion rights, like LGBTQ justice. And we've seen this change over time. We've also seen that young people are not monolithic. The issues that might affect young people, say in Madison, Wisconsin, is very different than what affects young people, what they're hearing about and fighting about in El Paso, Texas. And so by that information, we can really help target the issues that young people care about and help them identify those issues with voting. So here is a snapshot of our data. You can see, and this is about what happened when there was a Supreme Court leak. We didn't even get to the Dobbs decision. And you will see how what young people were passionate about and what ranked, say, in their top 5 of issues they cared about changed dramatically after the Supreme Court leak. Our research is ongoing, so we know at every moment and every date what is appealing, what's attracting, what's energizing young people. And that allows us to really laser target and micro target very specific groups of young people and energize them out to vote. We've also identified the 3 issues nationwide, but again, it shifts at a micro level to say what's happening in Atlanta or what's happening in a community in Arizona or Nevada. And so what we found that young people said is that the number 1 issue that's a barrier for them is getting time off to vote. Time off to vote. This is particularly crucial if for students at a community college or a trade school who tend to also work full-time jobs. So we, as a strategy, make our number 1 asking presidents and chancellors to give students the day off to be able to vote. Similarly, we want to make sure that we have polling sites on campuses so that you don't have to go far. You don't have to take that much time to be able to vote. We want to make sure the polling sites are close to the campus or that we are providing shuttles to the campus and that your student IDs are compliant with voter IDs. So you'll see the second issue was transportation. And there's been a devious thing happening where places like Florida attempted to ban, and actually did ban, until a lawsuit that we were able to do successfully, banned polling sites from college campuses, or move polling sites miles away, or put it on dirt roads away from the campuses so that students cannot vote. So getting transportation to polling sites is really important. And the third thing that's really important in this digital age is candidate information from sources and in a medium that young people can read and understand, which means that we have to move away from tomes and printed press. It has to be able to be digested on your cell phone or through social media without the stigma, we can message and give information to young people via Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And we're doing that. And you will see on the screens around this room some of the very innovative ways that we are calculating and communicating with young people. So here's how you can help. You can help us in a number of ways. And I hope you will go to civicinfluencers.org and find out how you can really help support young people's interest and passion in participating in our democracy. And now I'd like to invite Adam Miko. Adam Miko has been exceptionally giving of his time and talent to us so that we can develop what we're about to show you. Adam.
Thank you so much, Maxim. I'm a Tableau visionary and ambassador. So Channing Nesbitt, who is responsible for the Racial Justice Hub at Tableau, Salesforce company, introduced us. So I was excited about your mission and the potential impact on our democracy.
Thank you, Adam. So one of the things that we realized in terms of how do you be innovative, how do you reach people, how do you communicate what's happening in our democracy to young people and to all the rest of us, we had to use technology, and we have been inordinately blessed to have been given the services of Adam Miko, who got the golden hoodie from Salesforce last week at Dreamforce, which is the highest award for data visualization. So Adam, can you share your screen for what you are about to show us about our tipping point campuses in these swing districts?
Of course. And yeah, basically I was referred to as the mayor of the Golden Hoodie from Alan Hillary because he monikered me the Data Fan Mayor. So it was a shock and honor to receive the Golden Hoodie at Dreamforce last week rather. And it was just a great honor for someone from the Tableau community to receive because I was the first from the Tableau community. And here is the tipping point visualization, as you can see. I tried to make it as simple as possible, but as striking as possible because we want a large audience be able to see the visualization and be able to work with the visualization. And as a result, I used a lot of instructions and annotations to help out with that. So we could see right away, as Maxim was talking about earlier, the states with a powerful swing opportunity. It's a small portion of what you see. And to determine that, we're using a scale of 0 to 5. And 2.5 is the middle, hence the tipping point. And we have that as net 0. Most of the campuses fall well below that, as you can see here, and anybody could hover right over this and see that. And of course, there's tips here throughout, and this actually plays as well. So you could get a playlist of people talking about their stories right on the front screen. In addition to that, I try to make the navigation as simple as possible as well. So it's very clear right here, you could access the state dashboard. So everything is out in front. Again, very complex data that we're working with, but to try to make it as simple as possible. So we have clear icons here, clear color coding showing the high potential opportunity swing states and medium opportunity swing states for the 2024 election, superimposed with Senate races, congressional races, and governor races. Right here, we have a show state list. And if you select that, you can see that Pennsylvania has been selected. So as a result, we could see that on the right-hand side, clearly visible to everybody, and it highlights the 2 congressional races. So the 2 congressional races, if you hover over, you could see that. And if you hover over to state, you could see a lot more data. Underneath, it shows the governor races, the Senate races, as well as the congressional races, and if there's an appropriate margin of victory that applies here. So if we jump over here, here's another navigation item. So I want to see the U.S. House PA 17 and see more about that district. So if I click on this, we're greeted with another map. So if I highlight over each of these campuses, we could see the spots in the campuses that have impact. So what I did here is made sure that the color coding matched the front. So we saw pink where the states that voters that were underrepresented, and we could see that right here. It's a little bit lighter here because we have 2 stars instead of 1 star, and those that weren't scored are blank. This is a living, breathing data visualization. Will be updated with data as more data comes through. And we could see more information. I could return to the state dashboard, and each section here includes information about the dashboard itself and how to use it, as well as data sources too. So you could verify the data information as well. And all of these civic influencers icons are clickable, so you can go right to civic influencers. But I see this information, this is really depressing because we could see a lot of voter repression here. So what can I do? And here's our call to action. Just go ahead, click this, and you're right on your use your power to vote. So if I go ahead and click on this image right here, what it's going to do is power up the civic influencers website so people can go right there and see the information as needed. And again, more information on here to make it very easy for people to use, and home icons if you want to just jump right back to the landing page. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much. What is powerful, just to point out a couple things. One is 50% or more of the institutions that we analyzed had a score of 1, which is the lowest possible score. So when we are thinking about tipping point campuses, if you have a score of 1, you have virtually no ability. Your students have virtually no ability to vote. It's almost as if you're putting obstacles in their path, and sometimes you are. If you get a score of 5, that means your tipping point campus has a score of 5. You are really helping those young people to vote. So when you have a margin, say of 6 votes, when you are able to raise that score from a 1 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4 to a 5, you're absolutely going to be able to get young people the ability to swing that election. And so we think this is an incredibly empowering thing. It's available on your mobile devices. And by the way, young people themselves on those campuses, community colleges and trade schools, can upload videos of themselves telling what they're doing and how they are energizing this moment. Thank you so much, Adam. And so now I have the pleasure of presenting the first award of its kind. Leslie is going to help me, and I am just absolutely thrilled. Right, and our first award of the evening will go to Atrium, who did the mobilizing the margins that you saw for their powerful visualization of civic influencers' novel data to foment youth voter engagement by mobilizing the margins. And Leslie will be receiving the award on behalf of Atrium.
Hey everyone, I'm Molly Emmett, and on behalf of the entire team at Atrium, we're honored to accept the 2022 Data Power for Inclusive Democracy Award. Thank you to the Civic Influencers team.
And hello, I'm Elise. We've talked a lot tonight about mobilizing the margins and turbocharging student voters. The team is so glad we could help bring this strategy to life through data visualization. We know from the data that the keep up this momentum that will lead to increased youth voter turnout and civic power.
Thank you. It has been such a joy to participate at this moment in American history and the trajectory of our democracy, and to see the kind of talent and investment from Silicon Valley, from Wall Street, from campuses, from donors. Without this kind of synergy and cross-pollination, we could never save the democracy that we will be able to save in these midterms and in the 2024 presidential election. The next award is also for data power. And it goes to Chantilly Jagannath for their stunning visualizations showing voter suppression targeting students across the country, especially affecting Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, disabled, and youth of color. And again, Leslie will be accepting the award on behalf of Chantilly Jagannath.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Oops.
Hi.
Wait, sorry. Mark?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Mark Smith. Good personal friends with the gentleman that you actually just saw almost speak, Senator Blumenthal, who's the senior senator from the state of Connecticut, where I reside. And he has a few words for all of us at Civic Influencers. So why don't we listen up and stay tuned.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Hey, I'm Richard Blumenthal, United States Senator for Connecticut. Very excited and proud to be joining the Civic Influencer Power Awards event, even though it is in this somewhat impersonal way.
So pretend we were doing the Oscars. Mark, could you come back? We have
Hi,
to.
I'm Richard Blumenthal.
Oops, Senator Blumenthal, just give me one moment. Mark, we're going to redo that. And let me, I'm going to go backwards. Where's
Hi,
my,
I'm Richard Blumenthal.
okay, so, sorry, folks, my apologies for this. I don't want the senators to stop, but I don't want him to start. I don't want us to see him yet. Can we spotlight just Mark?
We'll have to stop the screen share for that, and
Okay.
you'll need to restart it on October.
And can we spotlight Mark? Okay, Mark.
Me too. Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Smith, close personal friend of Civic Influencers and portfolio manager for their endowment. I'd like to introduce the next speaker, the senior senator from Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal. He has a few words for everyone in the room today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Richard Blumenthal, United States Senator for Connecticut. Very excited and proud to be joining the Civic Influencer Power Awards event, even though it is in this somewhat impersonal way.
You're going to forgive me again.
Hi, I'm Richard Blumenthal, United States Senator for Connecticut. Very excited and proud to be joining the Civic Influencer Power Awards event, even though it is in this somewhat impersonal way. I am with you in spirit because your mission is so critically important to the future of our democracy. Engaging young people is vital to promote causes like preventing gun violence, sustaining reproductive rights, and enlarging voting rights. Causes that have animated and energized my own career as a U.S. Senator and as Attorney General before that. I want to thank everybody in this audience for supporting this vital mission, which is so important now, more important than ever before, because our democracy is under threat as never before. This nonpartisan, nonprofit organization can really play a role in engaging, inspiring young people to help save our democracy. That is no exaggeration. So thank you to everyone, and congratulations to your work.
Thank you. I'm just thrilled. The validation we have just gotten from Senator Chris Murphy and Senior Senator Blumenthal cannot be underestimated. our country is in a crisis. It's in a crisis because democracy is threatened, and bad actors out there are doing everything they can to prevent young people from voting. And that's where civic influencers comes in. Now, you've heard about us targeting swing districts at the margins. This is really important because one of the things we hear is from young people is that our votes don't matter. If I vote, it doesn't matter. And we're showing them, again, the gospel choir, the marching band, the sorority, or the football team can't swing that district. You can't say you cannot affect a 6-vote margin or a 100-vote margin, as there was in New York 22, or a 333-vote margin, as there was in California 45, now California 47. So this is really, really powerful and important. I tell you what else is important, because representation matters. Young people not only registering to vote and turning out to vote, but actually also running for office. And our next award is going to Maxwell Alejandro Frost for their powerful leadership in amping up civic engagement and exemplifying a new generation of political leadership. Let me tell you a little bit about Maxwell. He is the Democratic nominee for Florida's 10th congressional district in Orlando. And he's receiving, as you know, the Cool to Consciousness Power Award. When I called up Maxwell, because in many ways he is the poster of a young person who is claiming their civic power and their voting power. And we were going to give him a power award. And he talked to me about his journey from being cool to consciousness and the things that made him want to run for office. And in fact, that allowed him to win the nomination. At just 25 years old, Maxwell is wasting no time representing the power of youth engagement in our political system. Maxwell inspires us and is the picture of a civic influencer who is seeking a more secure and inclusive democracy. Civic Influencers is proud of him. Is Maxwell live?
Hello.
Hold on. Hi.
Hello, how you doing?
Thanks for joining us, Maxwell. I know you are in Tampa, and I'm so sorry you couldn't join us here today. But our best wishes and hopes to get through this hurricane is with you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And just thank you so much for the recognition. Hello, everybody. My name is Maxwell Alejandro Frost. It's an honor to get a chance to speak with y'all. I was supposed to be there in person. I'm actually in Orlando. We are experiencing one of the worst and strongest hurricanes that we've had in generations here in Florida. And, you know, the climate crisis is here. And we know that the way that we can defeat this is by electing morally just leaders that are going to do the right work. And the way we do that is by protecting our democracy and ensuring that young people, yes, have the right to vote, but have the accessible right to vote. And that's what this has to be about. You know, there's so many areas where we need bold change, from climate change to ending gun violence. I'm a survivor of gun violence myself, to ensuring that we protect our democracy, to ensuring that people have the right to a safe and legal abortion all across this country. And, you know, throughout my entire life, I've always been the youngest person in the room. I will hopefully be going into Congress as one of the youngest people in the room. But the thing that Civic Influencers does is it looks at young people and says, it doesn't matter that you're young, your voice matters. You matter. The experiences that you've been through, this timeline of growing up through Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter, and going through more school shooting drills and fire drills, those experiences are important at the table, not just in the halls of Congress, but all across this country, and specifically in the ballot box. And that's why this work is so important. I'm so honored to receive this award. Congratulations to all the other recipients and all the other honorees. The work that Civic Influencers does is not just important, it's critical to saving our democracy. I'm honored to stand alongside them as a partner. and in solidarity with this work, and going to continue to do it here in Florida, but also across the country. So again, thank you so much. Very, very, very sad I couldn't be there today, but weather had a different plan. But hopefully we will be together in fellowship soon. Y'all have a great day, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Maxwell, can you stay for one question?
Yeah.
We have a lot of people looking at us online and here at Salesforce Tower in New York, where we're having the in-person Power Awards. What would you say to make them optimistic about young people turning out in the midterms elections and young people participating in our democracy?
Well, the first thing I always say is let's look at the numbers, right? I know that, you know, we always talk about that young people don't vote or that they're not reliable voters, but this generation is different and it's really exciting. If we look at the numbers in 2018, and Senator Murphy brought this up, we had the highest youth voter turnout in the history of our country in a midterm in 2018. In 2020, we had the highest youth voter turnout in the history of our country in 2020. And now we're coming up on the midterms here. And I'll tell you that, you know, our election here in Orlando, the way I won this primary and became the Democratic nominee was having a broad coalition. But one of our best performing precincts was the University of Central Florida, where we got, I believe, over 90% of the vote. And so young people are voting. And here's the other thing, and this isn't to pit generations against each other, but just so we know, youth not voting at high numbers has always been a problem. It's not just a new problem. It's been going on in our country for generations. The last generation to have some of the highest youth voter turnout numbers were baby boomers. Gen Z is voting, I believe, at over 40% of that right now at our current age, which means that we are the generation of young people that is voting the most. So let's keep resourcing that. Let's keep organizing. Let's bring people together on common shared values. Young people want something to vote for and not against. They want to hear about the future that they want to live in, one where, and we can all agree on this, right? Where we can live free of violence, where we can have bodily autonomy, where we can live in a place that's not ravaged by the climate crisis, like I'm seeing right outside my window right now, and where people have the resources to tap into the opportunity of this country. Now, that's not something that's just, you know, specific to my generation, but is a human thing. And at the end of the day, it's about love. If you love somebody, you want them to have these things. And that's what gives me so much hope with this generation. And it's not just about running for office. When you have people who are seeing the world through the eyes of the most vulnerable in every facet of society, leaders in clergy, teachers, people who are running supermarkets, CEOs, business leaders, politicians, all around, that's how we create a better world and change our culture.
Thank you, Maxwell. And to present the award to you is our board member, Leslie Brittany, and you'll be able to see it momentarily.
There you are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maxwell.
Thank you. We'll get it to you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
So next, so we'll take a pause here while Patrick comes, and Brian.
Hello, everybody. This is Maxwell Alejandro.
Sorry. Let's get this out of the way. Right. I want to remind folks of something that Maxwell said a moment ago. Do you know 4 million 17-year-olds turn 18 every year in the United States? That means this year there are 4 million young people eligible to vote who could not have voted in 2020. But in 2024, which would be 2 years from now, there will be 8 million young people who could not vote this year. That's amazing. That's amazing. And when you think of the margins we've been talking about, the ability to mobilize just 18-year-olds, much less our cohort of 18 to 29, would be dramatic. And that's what we're doing. And now to present the award for such a civic influencer is our Chief of Advocacy, Organizing, and Learning, Patrick Coakley.
Thank you, Maxim, for that lovely introduction. And good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Coakley. I'm the Chief of Organizing, Advocacy, and Learning at Civic Influencers. And I have the distinct pleasure of working with the team of talented individuals that works on the ground with all of the civic influencers every day. Our team of state organizers puts a lot of time in, a lot of time beyond their usual hours to really make sure that the young people who have come to our program for leadership, for mentoring, have an understanding of how to raise their civic voice, how to really connect the things that they value to the process of voting, and ultimately become leaders in their own right. We really hope that not only will they go out and become civic influencers in their community, but like the young lady that I'm about to introduce you to, continues that leadership even beyond their time with us in the program. It has been quite a year for us at Civic Influencers in general. For this year in 2022, we held our first summertime session where instead of sort of taking a break for the summer, we worked with young people over the course of the summer to not only lead them into the midterm elections, but just make sure that their summertime could also be a time for them to think about their strong civic engagement. We are currently, I don't want to say we're in the middle because it feels like it just started, but we are right into our fall term where we have 284 civic influencers participating in this term alone. I mean, these are numbers that we've not seen before. And it's super exciting to see the diversity, to see the engagement that's coming from all of them. Like Maxwell Frost said, they are not only learning from us about how to amp up their civic power, about how to make the things they care about important in their community, they're also teaching us about things we need to know to engage effectively this new and this strong cohort of voters that is going to be changing our world. They might not like to answer their email. We might have to learn a little bit more about social media, but it is certainly an exciting time to be doing the work that we're doing and to be creating this engagement and planting these seeds for civic power. And so with that, I'm pleased to tell you about the award that I'm presenting tonight. The Civic Influencer of the Year Power Award recognizes the individual who has worked consistently to raise the youth voice and amp up civic power for young people in their community. Now, Maxim already mentioned my talking point and stole my thunder, but I do want you to keep thinking about that number that he mentioned, 4 million. That's how many young people are going to turn 18 every year. And more than anything, this isn't about just their numbers. This isn't about the swaying of the generations. If we want that cadre of young people to make effective change in their communities, we want them to save our democracy and have a community that they care about, we need to give them the tools and resources they need to become engaged and active voters. Now, while there have been many young people who've worked with us over the course of our time to this end, this year, there's been one individual who has stood head and shoulders above her peers. And I am pleased to present the award for Civic Influencer of the Year to Anya Taylor. Anya is an alum of North Carolina A&T State University. Due to her aspirations to be an attorney and later a Supreme Court justice, she's double majored in political science and sociology to gain direct insight into our political system and how our human society functions. As a civic influencer, her aspirations have been no less spectacular. She has consistently been the voice of the youth community in North Carolina A&T's campus, and even facilitated a partnership with the League of Women Voters in North Carolina. She's an outspoken advocate, and as a alum of North Carolina A&T's sister school, Howard, I'm a little jealous that she's an A&T grad and not a Howard grad. Anya represents the best of actions, intent, and the values of civic influencers. Congratulations, Anya.
There. Thank you so much, Patrick. And again, I am honored and very humbled to receive the Civic Influencer of the Year Power Award from an organization who believed in me since 2019. Good evening, stakeholders, policymakers, fellow civic influencers, and most importantly, the National Civic Influencers team. I am Anya Taylor, a May 2022 graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, where again, I studied both political science and sociology. My journey to student activism and voting rights began very soon as I embarked my sophomore year. A year that I knew was going to be full, a year I knew that was going to be full of memories, all A's, and immense change. In fall 2019, I was flabbergasted when I found out that my historically Black campus was gerrymandered, which also happens to be one of the largest voting blocks across North Carolina. The gerrymandering also meant that we lacked an on-campus voting site. And if you're aware of the importance of early voting, then you know, like I know now, that this was a huge disadvantage for my campus and also a ton of first-time voters. Now, at this time, I was very new to the topic of voter suppression and really understanding the long journey to obtain voting rights for people who looked like me, but I knew something wasn't right. Filled with sudden rage and anguish upon receiving the news, I knew our fight had just begun. A petition was created by a fellow student organizer, Cole Riley, in partnership with Color of Change to bring immediate attention to the injustice our campus was facing. Within 24 hours, at least 1,000 students had signed the petition and committed to joining our fight. From this, we began attending Board of Election meetings often, which seemed like weekly to me, which took place at the local Guilford County Courthouse. Now, as a small town girl and someone who knew at such an early age she would bring about change, this was very huge to me. We spoke, we united, we advocated, and we won. None of this was easy, and a lot of meetings felt like beating a dead bush. However, I will never forget finding out the news about us receiving an on-campus polling site. I was excited, but driven to do so much more. As I close, I hope to inspire all of you by no longer accepting the things you cannot change, but changing the things you can no longer accept. Angela Davis. Again, thank you so much to the Civic Influencers team for granting me this opportunity to amplify my work and provide me with ample resources to serve as a young voting rights advocate. I am so appreciative and thankful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anya. We are all improved by the high bar that you have set for all of us, and we will be continuing to follow your lead as we continue our work as well. I'm actually very excited for a little bit of a special surprise that we have for all of you tonight. I mentioned the wonderful staff that I have the opportunity to work with who work with our civic influencers. And as a surprise, I'd love to introduce you to 4 of my team members that are with us tonight, say a little bit about their work and what they're doing. We've been joined by our state organizers from Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Texas, and Florida. So first, representing the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it's my pleasure to introduce you to JC Brown, our organizer at large.
Hello, everyone. My name is JC Brown, and I'm the organizer at large for Pennsylvania, living in Pittsburgh. But I was born and raised in Mississippi, where I started this work fighting against voter suppression. And I'm so thankful to be continuing it in Pennsylvania. It's a very busy time across the Commonwealth. Several social issues and races are on the ballot this November. And some of the main driving factors for young voters are abortion rights, racial economic equality, and voting rights. Our 30+ civic influencers in Pennsylvania are from 10 different four-year universities and community colleges, including Drexel University, Community College of Philadelphia, Lackawanna College, and the list continues. I'm proud that the civic influencers in Pennsylvania represent the diverse populations in our country: Black, Latinx, first-generation college students, queer folks, and more, all of whom are working together to get more young people involved and informed on the electoral process. Like Maxim and Adam mentioned earlier, we've identified these areas with tight margins where young people can really make a difference, such as Pennsylvania 17, which has an open US House seat. I'm so excited to continue working with my civic influencers to tap into District 17 and other areas to amplify the power of young voters. Thank you.
Thanks, JC. Next, from North Carolina, our statewide organizer at large, Anna Cubbage.
Hello, everyone from North Carolina, First in Flight and Freedom. My name is Anna Cubbage, the North Carolina statewide organizer. I was born and raised in Southeastern North Carolina by two of my favorite public school educators and joined Civic Influencers after I myself taught for 9 years. Our civic influencers in North Carolina represent our diverse democracy. They are undergraduate and graduate students, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, Latinx, Black, Native American, students with disabilities, first-gen students, and neurodiverse. Our state team consists of 43 civic influencers on the campuses of 13 colleges and universities and in our local communities. We are so proud to work with youth civic leaders on 3 North Carolina HBCU campuses, North Carolina A&T, Fayetteville State University, and Elizabeth City State University, as well as a student at UNC Pembroke, a Native American serving non-tribal institution. We are focusing on U.S. House North Carolina Districts 1 and 8, where the margin of victory has previously been narrow. And so young people in North Carolina have an opportunity to make a decisive impact on the outcome of the midterm elections, where the ballot includes 1 open U.S. Senate seat, all 14 House seats, and various state and local offices. Our civic influencers are passionate about reproductive justice, healthcare, equity in public education, social justice, inflation, debt, income inequity, inclusive practices within the workforce and higher education, voting rights, climate change and sustainability, LGBTQIA+ rights, and mental health. We are building a movement of young voters for the future, and I am proud to work with our North Carolina civic influencers and to witness their continued individual and collective impacts. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We now detour to the Lone Star State, where I'm pleased to welcome Maria Renee Morales, our statewide organizer in Texas.
Hola a todos desde Texas. Mi nombre es María René Morales, and my pronouns are she, her, ella. I am the statewide organizer for Texas. I am a political social worker, originally from Guatemala, but have lived in Texas for 10 years now. Texas is filled with intelligent and determined young people who are more diverse than ever. Our 48 Texas civic influencers come from widely different backgrounds and communities. They are disabled, Black, Latinx, Brown, Indigenous, Asian, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, and are the first in their families to be college students and American citizens. Our Texas civic influencers are showing up. They're emerging from schools and communities across all Texas, from UT El Paso, UTRGV, Texas Tech, the Dallas Community College System, Houston, Austin, and more, to encourage young people to use their voting power. Texans are eager to cast their ballot this November. They're not only registering people to vote, but showing up at reproductive right rallies, gun control protests, advocating for climate justice, and speaking out against a grid system that is failing all Texans when temperatures go extreme. Civic influencers are helping young people connect all of these issues they care about to voting. They're mobilizing their communities, their friends, their families, peers, coworkers, and everyone to the polls so that all voices are heard.
Thank you so much, Maria Renee. And finally, we return to the South, if not a bit more windy and soggy, to Michael Norris, our Senior Special Projects Manager and Statewide Organizer at Large in Florida. Mike?
Thank you, Patrick. I'm Mike Norris, and I bring you greetings from the large, diverse, and stormy state of Florida, where I work as our statewide organizer. I've spent most of my life and career working in higher education to increase civic and voter engagement. My personal passion for this work was born during the 1980s, when elected officials were ignoring the AIDS crisis in America, and many of my personal friends were dying from the disease. The diversity of civic influencers in Florida is mirrored by that of the state itself, as seen in the unique cultures of the small cities in the Florida Panhandle to the large metropolitan areas like Tampa, Orlando, and Miami. Our civic influencers this fall include Latinx young people, specifically those of Cuban heritage, first gen and community college students, young people from the LGBTQIA+ communities, and the disabled community. The issues that are engaging these caring young voters in Florida include gun control, immigration justice, and climate change, reproductive rights, including contraception, student debt, and healthcare. Young voters in Florida are also very energized right now by state legislation, like the governor's Don't Say Gay bill and Stop Woke Act. Civic Influencers has built and maintains really strong relationships with over 60 private and public institutions of higher ed in the state. This fall, we're working on 10 of those campuses with 48 civic influencers to connect these young people to the issues that they're passionate about. In South Florida, which includes our priority district of Florida 27, we're working at Miami-Dade College, which is the largest community college in the country, Florida International University, Florida Memorial, which is one of the 4 vibrant HBCUs in the state, and Berry, which is a faith-based institution. Schools in other parts of the state include Florida State University, the University of Florida, Rollins College, and St. Petersburg's College. I appreciate your support and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about the work that we're doing in Florida.
Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you to all of the state organizers. I'm not just going to say this because I'm their director. That's just a fraction of our team, but fully representative of the sort of diversity and drive that we see from every member of Team OANL. It's such a pleasure to work with them. With that, I am also pleased to welcome back to the podium our CEO, Maxim Thorne. Maxim.
Thank you so much. And this is the moment I've been waiting for since she first hired me. Liz Ritchie is getting the Civic Influencers Power Philanthropist Award this evening. It's for their joyous and relentless support of empowering young voters to secure democracy, love, and happiness for future generations. Liz Ritchie is one of the most remarkable women I have met in almost 3 decades of doing civil rights, human rights, and democracy work. Her dedication to this organization started more than a decade ago. She has been amongst the top 5 philanthropists supporting our work. Her belief in diversity, equity, and inclusion is the reason why you see the diversity and the passion and the deep granular work that we're doing, whether it's in El Paso, whether it's in Albany, Georgia, whether it's in North Carolina, whether it's in Madison, Wisconsin, whether it's in California, in Ocean County. Her belief that all young people matter, despite their disenfranchisement, we can help enfranchise them. Whether for their color or disability, they deserve the same rights to our democracy and our ability to vote. Liz is an inspiration to every member of our board, every member of our Bureau committee, every member of our staff, and to all the young people who have the chance to meet her. I would like all of the board members and Blue Ribbon Committee members who are here to join Leslie with the award as we invite Liz to come and receive the award. So for Liz Ritchie, for everything that you bring to this movement and for your dedication, intelligence, and support, our 2022 Civic Influencers Power Philanthropist Award, Liz Ritchie.
Well, over the top as usual. But I'm so proud to accept this award as Civic Influencers Power Philanthropist. I have been involved with the organization since 2012, so I might have a more unique perspective than a number of you. But we've known for a long time that if we focus on students, we can help them build a lifelong commitment and an understanding of their responsibility, which we all share, to help make our democracy stronger. It's been amazing to see the tremendous growth and impact that we've had over time. When we first started, we knew that reaching out to youth voters was critical. But quite often when we reached out, it was to schools that were receptive and were interested in what we were doing. Today, we've evolved to be data-driven, to be more targeted. And we know that that will help us maximize our impact. It's been an honor to work with the Civic Influencers Group to help achieve our mission of engaging as many students as we can. We have an extraordinary staff and team, as you've seen from tonight. We also have remarkable partners, and I want to thank all of them for their hard work and their commitment. So thank you very much for this award. Thanks to all of the other award recipients, and thanks to everyone else who's here tonight, who support our mission. We couldn't do it without you. So more to come, and thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Liz. Unbelievable. As we close our formal program, please consider investing today in our important work. It will tip the scales for democracy in these upcoming elections. Your return on investment is very high when you invest in the movement of young people. Candidates come and go, but 4 million young people turn 18 every year and remain long-term voters when they start voting early. We are trying to close our funding gap of 1.25 million this year. And so many of you have been supporters already, but if you could do a little more, it would be amazing as we pay each of our civic influencers on their campuses $2,250 for the year. It's an amazing amount of work that they do for that little stipend. We're also matching a $150,000 grant from our board chair tonight and an anonymous donor. So if you can, fill out the donation cards and give them to Emily, who is here tonight. She can take a credit card, check, stock, or a DAF. So, and if you're online, you can please go to civicinfluencers.org. We so appreciate all that you've done for us. And now please enjoy a reception and have a chance to meet with and talk with some of our boards and staff and influencers. Thank you.